What up, y'all? Back again. So, in continuation with this Millennial Kingdom, all of this architecture that we see today is stuff that we just don't build today. Even if we just were to look at mostly the styles and, of course, the ornate ability, but not to mention, have you noticed how many dome structures there are on the face of the earth? I mean, you have, I think in the United States, every capital has a dome building, and that's just one of many in each state. So in the United States, you have uh, at least 50, but you have probably more in the range of closer to 1,000. I mean, if you were to include all of the churches and all the old, facilities that they have converted into libraries and courts and municipal buildings and post offices. You have a lot of dome buildings, and they in themselves are very interesting. When we make dome buildings today, we make them with glass, but what they used was some forms of block and concrete or brick and probably marble and some sort of stone, but you just don't see that type of building today. And it's got to make you wonder. I mean, how hard would it be to make a dome building like that, especially as high up as they are? Because the higher you go, the higher ceiling that you have, it's more weight, and it's harder to get up there. Now, these individuals were people that built them without cranes and without any kind of electrical equipment, no cordless equipment, no lighting, and nothing but, handheld type labor and scaffolding. But, they're not even supported. They're actually supported from the other brick, stone, or whatever is around it. And then, it's interesting how you look at the pillars and things that you see, because they're real full-on marble, most of them. I mean, they may be somewhat some sort of other stone or cement or something, I don't know, but they're not hollow, they're not fake, they're not imitation. That's my point. And they're so precise. What type of machinery were they using to make those things, and then to get them out in the middle of, and sometimes middle of nowhere? We're talking about when we had something like, as far as firearms, was like a musket or something. And then it's interesting how you have this Gilded Age, but then in a lot of ways they like to make you think that we had the wild, wild west out here, and we were in log cabins, barns and stuff. And when you look at humanity, it's like we came here and these things were here already, and then we just messed them all up. I mean, if you look at like a picture before, when there were empty cities, and then after we got there, we put these posted signs, these cheesy signs everywhere, and we dirtied up the place even more. We just junked it up, and they were just glorious structures, especially if you were to go at a time when they were pristine and before this mud flood that occurred. Because I do believe the mud flood, the more I look at it, occurred in the range of 1812, and I have several reasons for that, but it still may be somewhere in the 1776 range, because I have a couple of reasons on that as well. But both years, 1812 and 1776, both had this comet that had gotten what they say supposedly close to the earth or whatever. Now, I do believe in the flat earth and the dome and all that stuff. So with that said, I do believe the enemy was loosed from the abyss inside this dome structure or firmament. And the shaking, the pressure, and the vibration and the sound caused the dirt to mix with the water underneath and caused it to liquefy into liquefaction. Everything top heavy sunk. I'm going to go over the insane asylums and the orphanages next, I think, because then you have the Cabbage Patch Kids and the incubators and carnivals. And the guy that created the incubator called himself a doctor, but he wasn't a doctor or a physician. So some suggest the insane asylums were the parents and the children were in the orphanages and they were separated because they would not receive the narrative that was currently being put forth, including the extension into the timeline. I don't know, it's an interesting thing, and I'm looking into it now, and I'm going to record a video on that and also do more on the Cabbage Patch Kids that were supposedly being birthed out of these cabbage patches in the early and all the way up until the 1890s. Thank you for watching.